The first time I saw Claire, she was dancing in the rain. It was junior year of college. A surprise downpour had scattered most of us from the quad, sending people sprinting for cover, heads buried in hoodies and backpacks. I remember standing under the overhang of the library, annoyed that my jeans were soaked and I hadn't saved my notes before my laptop shut off. Then I saw her, barefoot, twirling with her arms out, laughing like the world owed her nothing and she didn't mind. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. That's what got me. A week later, I ran into her again in the campus cafe. She was drinking black coffee and reading some dense psychology textbook, her hair still a little damp from the morning fog. I made a dumb comment about the coffee looking like motor oil, and she laughed. She had this sharp, deliberate laugh, like she wasn't just humoring you, but actually enjoying the moment. I sat down with her and never really got up. We dated for 3 years before I proposed. Got married the summer after graduation. No dramatic speeches. Just a long hike in the Smoky Mountains, a blanket spread under a red maple, and a ring I'd been hiding in my sock for 2 days. She said yes before I even finished the question. Now, almost 10 years later, we live in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Charlotte. Colonial house. White siding. Big oak tree in the yard that sheds too many leaves every fall. We have 2 kids, Emma, 6, and Jacob, who just turned 3. I work as a systems analyst for a tech logistics company. Claire stays home part-time, freelancing as a marketing consultant and managing most of the chaos that comes with 2 young kids. She's got a way of making the day run smooth even when everything's falling apart: snack times, preschool pickups, impromptu craft disasters. Our home has a rhythm, and she keeps the beat. We're comfortable. Not in a boring way. Just grounded. We do Friday night movies with the kids, pancake Sundays, and bi-weekly date nights when we can find a sitter. We both gained a bit of marriage weight after the kids, and somewhere around last spring, we started getting serious about our health again. We started meal prepping, walking more, and eventually joined a new gym that opened 5 minutes down the road. She took to it faster than I did. Claire always had more discipline. I'd show up 3 times a week, and she was there nearly every day, sometimes twice. I didn't think much of it at the time. She looked great. Stronger, more energized. Happier, even. I liked seeing her that way. I used to joke that she was turning into a gym rat. She'd roll her eyes and say, "Better than being a couch slug." If someone had asked me then if I was happy, I'd have said yes without thinking. We had a life that felt real. Solid. Earned. Mornings in our house start early and loud. Emma's alarm goes off at 6:30, but she usually beats it, already halfway into dressing herself before I'm out of the shower. Claire's downstairs packing lunches while Jacob shuffles out of his room with that bleary-eyed toddler look, his dinosaur pajama pants twisted halfway around his leg. I carry him down most mornings, still warm from sleep, his head tucked against my shoulder. Claire always greets us with her hair up in a messy bun and a cup of tea she barely sips before it's cold. She multitasks like a machine, scrambled eggs on the stove, Emma's hair in one hand, Jacob's sippy cup in the other. I swear she could run a company with the same grace she runs our kitchen. And somehow, she makes it all feel effortless. I try to help where I can. I get the kids dressed when Claire's in a meeting, handle daycare drop-off on my way to work, fix whatever breaks around the house, which is more often than I'd like to admit. Still, I'd be lying if I said Claire didn't shoulder most of the day-to-day. She never complains. Even when she's running on 4 hours of sleep and 1 meal. Despite the chaos, we have a flow. Our evenings are sacred, dinner together at the table, no phones, no screens. Emma usually insists on telling us about her day first, every detail of it, while Jacob babbles his version between bites. Claire listens with that soft smile she reserves for the kids, nodding like she's taking mental notes. She's the kind of mom who remembers which stuffed animal Jacob needs to fall asleep and which book Emma wants read exactly 3 times. After the kids go to bed, we have a little time to ourselves. Sometimes it's spent curled up on the couch, a glass of wine in her hand, a beer in mine. Other nights, we're too tired to talk, and we sit in silence with the TV low and our feet touching under the blanket. There's comfort in the quiet, too. Claire started taking fitness more seriously a few months back. She'd go early in the morning or after dinner, depending on the day. She said it made her feel strong again. I encouraged it. I loved seeing her confident like that. She began wearing brighter clothes, experimenting with makeup again, even bought a new wardrobe, not all at once, but gradually, piece by piece. I figured she was rediscovering herself after years of diapers, spit up, and preschool glue disasters. She deserved that. I was proud of her. Sometimes I'd joke about her becoming that mom, the one who always looks too good at drop-off. She'd laugh and say, "Don't you like having a hot wife?" I always said yes. Because I did. And I do. There were no cracks, no warning signs. We were building something that felt durable. We weren't perfect, but who is? We had history. We had rituals. We had a future. Claire's transformation started slow, but once she got going, it was like watching someone wake up from a long, quiet dream. It began with group fitness classes. A neighbor had recommended a boot camp-style program at the gym, and Claire tried it, just for fun. After the first class, she came home red-faced and sweaty, but glowing. "I thought I was going to die," she said, laughing, "but I actually kind of loved it." From there, it escalated. She joined a 6-week challenge, then started tracking her macros, swapped out the pantry snacks for protein bars and almond flour everything. It wasn't obsessive, just focused. I liked seeing her motivated, setting goals for herself again outside of motherhood. I encouraged her every step of the way. We talked about it often, how good it felt to be in shape again, how nice it was to fit into old jeans or carry the groceries in one trip without breaking a sweat. I tried keeping up, even hired a personal trainer for a bit, but work picked up, and I scaled back. Claire didn't. She leaned in. She made new friends through the gym, joined a women's strength training circle, and started posting her progress on a private Instagram account for fitness tracking. Her confidence bloomed. She started smiling more, standing taller, wearing leggings and crop tops with unapologetic ease. I noticed the way people looked at her when we were out, how strangers held their gaze just a second longer. It didn't make me jealous. It made me proud. That was my wife. Our lives had shifted, yes, but they hadn't grown apart. We still had Friday movie nights and pancake Sundays. We still kissed before bed and laughed about the same dumb TikToks Emma begged us to watch. If anything, her new energy gave our relationship a boost. She initiated more, touched me more often. Sometimes she'd get home from the gym and wrap her arms around me in the kitchen, still glistening with sweat, her breath warm against my neck. Those moments stuck with me. I didn't know the names of most of the trainers at her gym. She mentioned a few in passing, Amy, the nutritionist she liked, and Ricky, the guy who ran the high-intensity classes. Said he was tough but motivating. She never lingered on him in conversation, and I didn't ask. It was her space, her thing. I didn't feel the need to intrude. We'd reached that phase in our marriage where trust was second nature. We didn't hover. We gave each other space. She had her gym friends and fitness goals. I had work, the kids, my own slow jog toward being healthy again. We each had our lanes, and we waved at each other from across them. That's what a good marriage is, right? Mutual respect. Shared responsibilities. A quiet kind of loyalty that doesn't ask for proof. Claire had really hit her stride. The gym became her zone, not just a place to sweat, but somewhere she seemed fully alive, fully herself. She had a routine down to a science. Mornings were her favorite. She'd head out after the school drop-off, earbuds in, a shaker bottle in one hand and her gym bag over the other shoulder. She always came back glowing, buzzing with energy, talking about new personal records, new stretches, new recipes her gym friends recommended. She started taking progress videos on her phone, tracking her form, showing side-by-side comparisons from weeks earlier. I'd watch them with her sometimes after dinner. She'd point out how her squat depth had improved or how much weight she was pulling now compared to before. "You're turning into a machine," I joked once. She grinned and flexed. "That's the idea." Her body changed fast. Leaner, stronger, more defined in a way I don't think she expected. She upgraded her wardrobe bit by bit, first for function, then for fit. Tank tops, sleek leggings, sports bras in every color. She carried herself differently, too, not in a vain way, just more confident. I loved that for her. Still do. The gym itself became a familiar character in our lives. I'd pick up the kids and hear about who Ms. Claire brought to career day or what snacks she packed in their gym bags. She wasn't just working out anymore, she was part of the community. Sometimes she'd bring home protein muffins from someone's meal plan trial, or tell me about the latest group challenge they were doing together. She mentioned a trainer or two now and then, Amy for nutrition stuff, and Mark, who she said led most of the strength circuits. I didn't really know Mark beyond a passing mention, but I'd seen his name pop up in the comments on her fitness posts. He seemed encouraging, typical gym coach energy. Push harder, stronger every day, that kind of stuff. Claire said he was intense in a good way. The kind that made you want to show up. As for me, I was still trying to keep my own fitness momentum going, though I couldn't match her pace. I hit the gym a few times a week when work allowed, mostly cardio, sometimes weights. I wasn't chasing abs, I just didn't want to throw my back out tying my shoes. Claire offered to set me up with a plan once or twice, but I preferred to go at my own speed. She understood. At home, things were smooth. We worked like a team, as always. Weeknights were a blur of homework, baths, and bedtime stories. Weekends were for grocery runs, park visits, and the occasional dinner out when we could line up a sitter. We even hosted a few neighborhood barbecues in the spring, and Claire ended up sharing fitness tips with half the moms on our street. We were busy, no doubt. But it was a good busy. This was just another chapter in the life we were building. Claire had her thing, I had mine, and in between it all, we had each other. It was a Wednesday afternoon when I first noticed something that didn't quite add up. Claire had left her water bottle in my car after we took the kids to the museum over the weekend. No big deal, she does that sometimes. I picked it up while cleaning out the back seat and figured I'd toss it in the dishwasher. But when I twisted the cap off, the smell hit me immediately. It wasn't the water. It was perfume, strong, floral, and unfamiliar. Claire usually wore something subtle and fresh, barely there. This was different. Sweet, musky. Almost overpowering. I rinsed it out, didn't think much of it. Maybe it was from her gym bag. Maybe someone else's scent rubbed off during a class or a hug goodbye. Gyms are tight spaces. You share benches, towels, air. Still, it lingered in my nose longer than I expected. Later that night, as we got ready for bed, I mentioned it. Your water bottle smelled like a perfume ad exploded inside it. Claire paused while brushing her teeth, glanced at me in the mirror. Oh, yeah, she said, spitting. That's probably from Erica. She hugged me after class, she wears that heavy stuff. You'd know her if you saw her. Always in purple. I nodded. Got it. That was that. But once a thought enters your mind, it's hard to put it back. The next day, I found myself noticing other things I'd never questioned before. Like how often Claire was doing laundry, small loads, quick turns, even when the hamper didn't seem full. She said it was to keep her workout clothes fresh, which made sense. Still, I'd never seen her so meticulous about it. Or how she'd take longer showers now after the gym. Not just rinse-offs, full shampoo, exfoliate, shave everything kind of showers. That used to be a date night thing, not an everyday routine. But again, maybe that was just part of her new rhythm. Confidence makes people invest more in how they carry themselves. I also started realizing I didn't know the names of her new friends. Before, I could list everyone from her book club or playgroup. Now, it was all first names, Erica, Jenna, Mel, names dropped casually, without last names or details. I never met any of them. They didn't come over. She didn't suggest we all get together. I asked once if I should swing by the gym one day to say hi or grab a workout. She smiled and said, "You'd hate it. Way too loud." She wasn't wrong. Still, something about that response settled strange in my chest. None of it was enough to worry me. Claire was still Claire. Still tucking the kids in with the same silly voices, still brushing my arm as she passed in the kitchen, still leaving half-finished mugs of tea around the house like always. But the truth is, I started paying more attention, not because I didn't trust her, but because I couldn't shake the feeling that something around me had shifted. Slightly. Like a picture frame knocked a half-inch crooked. It was probably nothing. Almost definitely nothing. A few weeks passed, and the weird feeling didn't go away. If anything, it got louder, not in a way I could point to, not with facts or evidence. Just a low hum in the background of our life that I couldn't turn off. Claire's days were packed, as usual. Gym in the mornings, errands in the afternoon, freelance work in the evenings. Sometimes she'd run out late, claiming she needed something from Target or had to drop something off for one of the other gym moms. I never doubted her. The errands were small, believable. But it started to feel like she was more often coming than going, always on the move. Hard to pin down. She'd also gotten more protective of her phone. Not secretive, just careful. She used to leave it charging in the kitchen overnight. Now it was always on her nightstand. Always face down. Never on silent, but I realized I wasn't hearing notifications like I used to. She used to leave it unlocked when she passed it to me to Google something. Lately, I'd ask, and she'd say, "Just a sec," and do it herself. That's what got me, I think. The way she started doing things herself. We'd always been the type of couple that borrowed each other's phones to send a text or check a map. Now, she guarded hers like it had something fragile inside. One night, we were watching a movie on the couch, and her phone lit up beside her. Just a vibration, no sound. She glanced at it, picked it up without even looking at me, typed something quickly, then put it back face down. She didn't smile, didn't explain, didn't pause the movie. Just resumed, like nothing had happened. "Work?" I asked. She nodded. "Amy needs a document tonight." I believed her. Of course I did. But for the rest of the movie, I wasn't watching the screen. I was thinking about that light on her face when she read the message, the way her body tensed for a split second, just long enough to register if you were looking. And I was. I tried not to spiral. There were still dinners together, bedtime stories, quick kisses before work. Still moments where we laughed like we always had. The kids didn't notice anything different. Neither did our friends or family. On the surface, we were still fine. Good, even. But the gaps were getting wider. Not dramatic. Just, small things I'd once taken for granted that now felt edited. When I asked how her workouts were going, she'd answer in quick summaries. Tiring. Brutal today. I'm sore in places I didn't know I had. Then she'd change the subject. She stopped showing me her progress videos. Said she wasn't filming as much. More focused on being in the moment. I wanted to believe that. I really did. Maybe this was just life. Routines. Busyness. Maybe we were just in one of those phases where you orbit around each other more than collide. That happens in marriage. Doesn't mean anything's wrong. Still, I found myself lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering why it suddenly felt like my wife was somewhere else, mentally, emotionally, even when she was lying right beside me. I stopped asking about the gym. Not because I didn't care. Because I didn't know how to pretend I wasn't hearing the answers with a different kind of ear. There was a moment, just a simple Tuesday night, where I came home a little early from work. The living room was quiet, kids were napping, Claire was upstairs in the bedroom. The door was cracked just enough to hear her voice, soft and playful, carrying through the hall. I paused, not to eavesdrop, just to listen, then I realized she was on the phone. I caught part of a sentence, not the whole thing. Just enough to know it wasn't a work call. "No, I won't tell him, are you crazy?" she said, laughing softly. "I'd die if he found out." My body froze. Then silence. I stepped back. Waited 10 seconds. Walked louder this time so she'd hear me coming. By the time I opened the door, she was sitting cross-legged on the bed, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. "Hey," she said, smiling like she always did. "You're home early." "Yeah. Got through everything faster than I thought." I forced a smile. "You on the phone?" "Just Jenna. She's planning a birthday thing." I nodded. Didn't ask anything else. That night, I told myself it was nothing. Probably an inside joke. Maybe she was helping someone keep a surprise. There were 100 reasons not to read into it. 100 normal explanations. I repeated all of them to myself like a mantra as I lay awake again, listening to the rhythm of her breath. The thing about distance is, it doesn't show up all at once. It creeps. It collects in the spaces where conversations used to be. It fills the quiet moments like fog, and you only notice it when it's too thick to see through. We still looked like a happy couple to the outside world. We still functioned as a team. The kids were thriving. The house was clean. Bills were paid. Schedules were followed. But there was a hollow sound behind her voice now, like someone playing the notes without believing in the song. She used to touch me more, casual brushes in the kitchen, fingers trailing my arm as she passed. Those had gone quiet too. The space between us in bed felt wider. Her body curled to the far edge of the mattress, facing away. And when I reached for her once, just rested my hand on her hip, she gently shifted away, muttering something about soreness. I didn't say anything. I just rolled onto my back and stared at the ceiling. Again. It wasn't that anything was wrong. It was that nothing felt right. I hadn't said a word about my suspicions. Not to her. Not to anyone. I didn't want to look paranoid. Didn't want to say something I couldn't unsay. Maybe this was just what marriage looked like 10 years in. Maybe this was just life with 2 kids, packed schedules, and too little sleep. Or maybe it was something else. Something I hadn't found yet. But something I was starting to feel in my bones. Saturday morning started like most of them did, cereal bowls clinking, cartoons echoing in the living room, Jacob dancing in mismatched socks while Emma begged for pancakes. Claire was heading out early for the gym, as usual. She kissed me on the cheek, hair in a tight ponytail, leggings and crop top, duffel bag slung over her shoulder. "Back before lunch," she said, and smiled like always. I smiled back. Said, "Drive safe." She left, and I loaded the dishwasher. About an hour later, while folding laundry, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I didn't touch it. I never had a reason to. But the screen lit up with a preview, just a name and a short line from a text. "Last night was insane. Can't stop thinking about that thing you did with your..." The message cut off as the screen went dark. I stood there, not moving. Not blinking. I waited for the screen to light up again. It didn't. I told myself not to panic. There could be some other explanation. Mark was her trainer. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it wasn't about her. But the way my heart pounded made me feel like I already knew. I picked up the phone. It was locked. I tried her old code. It worked. The Messages app opened right where the preview had come from. No joke. No misunderstanding. Just a thread. Dozens of texts. Photos. Voice messages. Emojis I never used. Phrases I'd never seen her type before. And then I saw the video. It wasn't long. Maybe 30 seconds. But it didn't need to be. They were sitting together in the back of a car, Mark in a tank top, her head on his shoulder, laughing. His hand under her shirt. Her eyes on him like no one else existed. My ears went hot. My skin went cold. My body felt like it was folding in on itself, like gravity had doubled without warning. I played it again, just to be sure. Just to kill the last shred of denial clinging to the corners of my brain. There it was. Her voice. Her face. Her fingers in his hair. Not a fantasy. Not a fear. A fact. I put the phone down carefully, like it might explode. The kids were still laughing in the other room. Jacob yelling about dinosaurs. Emma asking if they could go to the park later. I walked into the bathroom, shut the door, and sat on the edge of the tub, breathing through my nose like I was trying not to throw up. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time slip. This was something ongoing. Intimate. Intentional. She didn't just cheat. She made a second life. A version of herself I didn't know existed, one who whispered into another man's ear while I cooked dinner downstairs. One who kissed her children goodnight and then sent videos to someone else. I looked at myself in the mirror. My face didn't even look like mine anymore. I thought I was prepared for the truth. I wasn't. I didn't confront her right away. It wasn't because I was afraid. It was because I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. She didn't deserve that. Not after what I saw. Not after what I now knew. Instead, I went still. Cold. I took the kids to the park like I promised. I smiled, pushed them on the swings, clapped when Jacob showed me how high he could climb. I was dying on the inside, but they didn't need to know that. Not yet. That night, I watched Claire walk through the door like nothing had happened. Hair damp from a shower, gym bag on her shoulder. "Hey babe," she said, leaning in to kiss me. I stepped back. "Don't." She blinked. "What's wrong?" I held up her phone, unlocked, screen glowing. She didn't even try to fake confusion. Her face fell like a switch had been flipped. She sat down on the edge of the couch without a word, eyes locked on the floor. I could hear the clock ticking in the kitchen. "How long?" I asked. Still nothing. "Say it," I snapped. "I need to hear you say it." "A few months," she said softly. It didn't mean to happen. I didn't plan it. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so predictably pathetic. "You didn't plan it. You filmed it." She flinched. "I've been sleeping beside you, raising our kids, paying your bills, and you were screwing your trainer in his car." Claire started crying, hands over her face. But I didn't move to comfort her. I couldn't. I was stone. "I want you out," I said. "Please, don't do this in front of the kids," she whispered. "You've got until tomorrow night. I'm taking them to my sister's. When I come back, you and your things better be gone." That next day, I packed her clothes, makeup, gym gear, everything. I stuffed it all into garbage bags, loaded it into the back of my truck, and drove it an hour out of town. I didn't dump it in the trash. I didn't burn it. I left it neatly on the shoulder of a quiet rural road, by a closed gas station with nothing but farmland for miles around. I texted her the location. Go find your new life. You left this one behind. Then I found Mark. I dug through her texts for details. Last name. Hometown. I cross-checked his Instagram and found photos of him with a wife and 2 little girls. I stared at those faces for a long time before I made my move. I found his wife's Facebook. Sent her everything, screenshots, timestamps, the video. No explanation. Just the truth. It was more than enough. She replied 10 minutes later. Thank you. I had a feeling. You just confirmed it. By the next afternoon, Mark had been fired. A disciplinary termination for unprofessional conduct with clients. Someone at the front desk told me when I casually asked. His wife filed for custody and a restraining order the same week. And Claire? She tried to call. I didn't answer. This wasn't about punishment anymore. This was about exposure. And she was finally standing under the light. Claire didn't call again after the 3rd time. Maybe she realized I wasn't going to pick up. Maybe she finally understood there was nothing left to salvage. Or maybe Mark's wife had gotten to her first. I don't know exactly how it unfolded, but I saw the aftermath. His wife posted a short, scathing paragraph on Instagram with a black background and white letters, "You train bodies, but destroy families. Good luck explaining this one to your daughters." Comments were off. Likes were on. It went viral, at least locally. Claire's gym profile disappeared. So did her posts. Every selfie, every clip of her smiling in a sports bra, every PR video, all gone. Erased like it had never happened. But people remembered. The whispers came in fast. Did you hear? Wasn't she married? And he has kids, too. By the time Claire called again, it wasn't to fight. It was to ask if I'd reconsider letting her come by to talk to the kids. I told her no. She broke our home and used their bedtime stories as an alibi. She could speak to them when I was ready, and not before. The divorce papers were served by the end of the week. My lawyer helped fast-track the filing. North Carolina might not favor fault-based divorce, but I made sure her infidelity was documented clearly in the complaint. Claire didn't contest. I think she was too numb to fight. She'd moved into a short-term rental a few towns over. I let her take the old futon and the second-hand dining set we kept in the garage. Everything else stayed with me and the kids. The court granted me primary custody. She could see them 2 weekends a month and alternating holidays. That's what happens when you get caught on video disrespecting the foundation your entire family stood on. I expected her to rage. To defend herself. To at least argue. But she didn't. She folded like paper. Meanwhile, Mark disappeared. His gym account vanished. His wife locked down her social media and pulled their daughters from the daycare Claire had once recommended. I heard from someone at the gym that he was trying to get work out of state. Good. Let him start over far away from the ashes he created here. As for me, I kept moving. The mornings were the hardest. Not because I missed her, but because everything still looked the same. Same kitchen. Same smell of coffee. Same cereal boxes. But without her voice upstairs or her footsteps in the hall, the silence felt louder. The kids asked where she was. I told them gently, carefully. Mommy made some choices that hurt people. She's not gone. But things are going to be different for a while. They nodded. Children are better at adapting than we are. They cry, then color. They ask, then move on. I didn't move on yet. But I was done standing still. She thought she could have both lives and never pay the cost. Now she's living with the receipt. The silence doesn't sting like it used to. At first, it felt like something had been ripped out of the house, a presence missing, a hum that once filled the walls. But over time, the silence became something else. Calmer. Softer. It didn't feel like absence anymore. It felt like space. Space to breathe. To think. To finally exist without looking over my shoulder for the next missing piece. Claire hasn't tried to come back. She shows up for her scheduled visits, on time, dressed neatly, acting polite but fragile, like someone walking through the wreckage of something they built and burned. The kids go with her without resistance. I don't badmouth her. I won't be that kind of father. But I don't shield her from consequence either. They'll grow up knowing the truth, in time. Not all the details, but enough to understand that choices matter. Claire sometimes tries to make small talk when she picks them up. I don't give her much. Just the logistics. The rest? That part of us is gone. Buried. What she did wasn't just betrayal, it was subtraction. She took a version of our life and cut it out at the roots. I've gotten better at my own routine. Mornings with the kids. Work. Cooking dinner instead of ordering out. I even rejoined the gym, not the one she used to go to. A smaller one, quieter, where no one knows my name unless I want them to. I don't train for revenge. I train for control. For balance. For me. Sometimes I think about Mark, but rarely. I wonder if he wakes up next to the mess he made and sees what it cost. His career. His family. His image. I don't hope for his misery, but I don't pity it either. He made his choice. So did she. What surprises me the most is how quickly I stopped loving her. It didn't fade slowly. It dropped off like a cliff. I loved her up until the moment I saw that video. And then it just stopped. The kind of love I had for her couldn't survive that kind of betrayal. It's not that I hate her. I just don't recognize her anymore. Some nights I sit on the porch after the kids are asleep, a cold beer in my hand, listening to the hum of the street. I think about everything that happened, the lies, the unraveling, the rage. And I feel nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just the kind of stillness that comes after a storm has passed and taken everything with it. I don't know what comes next. Maybe one day I'll meet someone else. Maybe not. But for now, I've got my kids, my peace, and a version of myself I almost forgot existed. And that's enough. Because I didn't deserve what happened. But I did deserve to walk away. And I did.